Alrighty guys, welcome back to another one. We're going to do some more 16 gauge today. This time it is Remington buckshot, 16 gauge obviously, 2 3/4 inch. This is 12 pellets of number 1 buck, which is the standard 16 gauge buckshot shell. Today's snooze and drink combo is Jacobson's Original Melon and Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Actually, a really good combo together. I wish Dr. Pepper would make a melon flavor. That would be really good. But anyway, here's what the box looks like. You can see our specs on it. The top side or bottom side, depending on how you want to look at it, is, well, if you want to read anything, just pause it. But you can see our nominal diameter is 30 cal. Now we know Federal number 1 buck is 28 caliber, even though they advertise it as being 30. Will this be true 30 cal? I guess we'll find out. You can see our weight per pellet and some info about power-packed buckshot, I guess they call it. This is a little bit older box. The back of it is just safety rules, things like that. And here is our warnings about not using a Damascus or twist barrel with these, or shotguns with shorter than 2 3/4 inch chambers. And it tells you not to put 16 gauge shells in 10 gauge guns. Do not place 28 gauge shells in 16. The 12 gauge boxes and 20 gauge mention not to put 20 gauge in 12 gauge and 12 gauge shells in 8 gauge guns, because all of that leads right back to the whole thing about accidentally putting a 20 gauge in a 12 gauge and then blowing your gun to smithereens. That's basically what all of that means. But it is not just 12 gauge in, well, 20 gauge in 12 gauge. It's multiple gauges in combination with other gauges. I like how Remington does make note of all that, though. That is pretty cool to me. And this did used to have a Kmart sticker on it, but I don't know what happened. Oh, actually, it's right there. Huh. I guess it fell off just now. But anyway, yeah, these came from Kmart, which is here in town, but that store hasn't been open since 2018 or 19. I don't know how old these are, but they're pretty old. What a time, guys. That's incredible to see. Anyway, here's what our shell looks like. You can see it just says 1 BK on it and nothing else. Yeah, this is a little bit older shell. But you can see Remington primer. This does have a brass plated steel head, and high brass at that, high steel. But yeah, pretty cool. It does have a mediocre crimp on it. It does have a little bit of pinhole in the middle. It is sealed though with some kind of sealant. But it is kind of belled out on top, if you can see that. No taper at all. It's hard to focus when you have a cat screaming at you non-stop. What you doing, Daisy? Calico. Alright, so for a total payload, including buffer, we have 1.044 ounces, let's call it that. Now, 12 pellets of 30 cal should weigh 1.1 ounces, so obviously it's not 30 cal, but it is very close to it. I'm going to say this is 29 caliber, because 12 pellets with buffer of Federal's number 1 buck, which was 28 caliber, was 0.98 of an ounce. And sure enough, 0.2915. We do have 29 cal. I don't know why factories just can't use true sizes, but it is what it is. 29 cal is close enough. That's still number 1 buck in my book. And for a charge, we have 21.6 of more black flake powder. Yep, we see this kind of powder in a lot of shells, guys. It's like the most common form of powder that manufacturers use, I think. The box does not list the velocity, but Federal's was 1220, 1225, I believe, advertised. This is probably right there with it. I noticed that with buckshot, a lot of manufacturers will load the same thing to the same velocity. This is probably no different. And if you're wondering, yes, Remington does still make these. They still make 16 gauge slugs too. This may be really hard to see, but we do have a straight wall shell with thick hull walls, and we have a somewhat high black base wad. The primer is sitting below it. There you go, you can see better now. The sun went behind the clouds. But yeah, a relatively tall base wad. straight wall shell. And it is corroded a little bit, if you guys missed that before. Again, these are older and I have no idea where they were stored at before I got them. But for stack height, we have a blue gas seal. This is really cool. It's kind of, it's not very sturdy. I can squish it pretty easily, but it is blue. That's different. I figured it would be green, being Remington, but no, blue. And we do have 1/2 inch of nitro card. Obviously, it came out in multiple sections. It was one piece, but if I squish it down the way it should be, it is 1/2 of an inch. That's all that's in it. Just powder, gas seal, 1/2 inch nitro card, or it could have been 2 1/4 inch sections. I don't know. And we have our pellets and buffer. Pretty cool. Simple shell. And it went back together just fine. You can see we do have a little bit of a taper on it now, although it is still kind of belled out. The plastic is so old and kind of brittle that that's just the shape it wants to hold now. The crimp is better than it came out of the box. It is much deeper set and more even. I did put a nitro card underneath the crimp because stack height was a little bit low. They probably could have used like a 5/8 inch nitro card or something, but it is what it is. We do have a pinhole still in the middle of it though, but can't really be helped, I guess. But it does look pretty good. Anyway, there is Remington's 16 gauge 12 pellet #1 buck, at least how they used to put it together. I'm not sure if they still do it this way, but I'll try to get some of those, the newer ones, and we'll find out. But there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.